I'm Paula Williams.
John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to help all you folks out there in the aviation world sell more of your product or services.
absolutely. So this is the last of our 4-part series for medium and large, or large and really large aviation and aerospace organizations. And today we're talking about measurements, objectives, KPIs, all of that numeric, statistical, fabulous stuff. Cool?
Okay.
Okay. So when you're flying an airplane, especially if you have, one of the first things you want to do once you get your private rating is to get an instrument rating, because you want to be able to fly in different conditions. You want to be able to get where you want to go in more kinds of weather and things like that. It gives you more options, right? You can make better decisions about flying if you have an instrument rating, right?
Of course.
Okay. So if you are a CEO of a company and you have access to instruments, right? You have a dashboard of KPIs or a dashboard of key performance indicators, and you know the numbers of where you are and where you want to be, you can make better decisions.
Of course.
Of course. All right. So the problem that a lot of companies have with this is they buy software that has a dashboard of some kind, and it shows them some numbers, and it gives them a feeling of warm, fuzzy security that they have some numbers and they know what their numbers are. The problem with that is a lot of times those are not the right numbers. We talked with a lot of salespeople who are really frustrated because their bosses are measuring things that either are not important or are counterproductive, right? In fact, there was one organization that was saying, all calls or all incoming lead forms need to be responded to within 2 hours, right? The problem with that is the sales staff work 9 to 5, right? And so nobody was meeting these KPIs. Nobody was meeting these objectives. And so, you can either expand the hours and have people making phone calls, and this is in the United States, right? These are leads that are coming in from people in the United States. You don't want people making phone calls at 3:00 in the morning if a lead came in at 1.
Right.
Somebody just got off a shift, they typed in a thing, and then they went to bed, and then they get a call 2 hours later. I have to talk to you now.
Because otherwise, my boss is going to be upset.
Exactly. It just doesn't make any sense. Some of these indicators are not in line with what they really want to do. So, in fact, I had a salesperson tell me, I'm making more volume of revenue for the company than anybody else, but I am not meeting expectations on these 2 indicators. And one of them was that, and another one was equally silly. And so, since I'm not meeting expectations, they can fire me at any time. That's in my employment contract. So how am I supposed to feel about how much they value my contribution here?
Well, if it's me, I'd be putting on a job.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, these key performance indicators are motivating. They're motivating me right out the door, So, you want to make sure that you're measuring the right things and that you are attaching, especially for commission sales and things like that. It's really easy to attach an incentive to the wrong thing. And then you have people stealing leads from each other. You have people cherry picking leads, who have access to things. You are motivating or you're incentivizing bad behavior, right, on the part of your sales staff. And you're also motivating them to interact with clients in a way that you wouldn't really approve of if you knew what that was. They're being manipulative. They are maybe doing things for people who are not qualified, but they get them to a certain point and get the incentive and then dump that person. There's a lot of misbehavior that goes on in the name of the KPIs. So how do you do them well?
Careful.
Right. Exactly. And you usually, the thing that we want to look at is simplifying the KPIs. How many leads are coming in versus how many appointments are being made versus how many deals are closing. And, if you can start with something super basic like that, when you can see, okay, we either need more leads coming in or we need to be making more appointments. And so that's the part of the marketing funnel that you can focus on because you know where the problem is, right? So there's a lot of ways to use these indicators in good ways, but you want to be very, very careful not to just install software, hit go, and start creating behavior problems among your sales and marketing staff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, human judgment trumps anything that software can tell you. And so, you really have to set this up correctly, even if you're using software. So, some of the things that we could do for companies that are setting this up are, general strategy, tracking things simply in a, we used to do a game board for one company where everybody was on the same, at the same site. We actually had some Velcro things that we would move on a wall so that everybody could come in and they could see, this is what's going on. Sometimes those analog solutions are what we need to be doing instead of all of the software that could be making bad assumptions and everything else. So measure fewer things, but measure them more accurately and more carefully and tie your incentives to those. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Okay. All right. So if you are a larger organization and you would like to talk about how we might be able to help, we're happy to do confidential consultations and things. And we can sit down with you and talk about team formation. We can talk to you about KPIs. We can talk to you about education programs, career paths, other things like that. We can talk to you about our services for C-level executives like ghostwriting, signature keynotes, advocacy for public speaking, other things like that. So these are services that we can offer to a larger organization that I think are pretty tailored to some of those large organizations. And having worked at large organizations, we really feel for the people that have those pros and cons in their life. And we do understand where you're coming from. So yeah, let's talk and let's see how we can help with some of those things and make those advantages better and make those disadvantages less bad. Right. All right. We'll see you next week. Have a great week.
Ciao.